Distinguidos invitados,
Distinguished guests, honorable panelists, leaders of UPF, ambassadors for peace, members of this precious audience, good afternoon. My name is Jaime Fernandez Tupac, Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation in Peru, representing Dr. Trevor Jones, that due to a health situation, he cannot be here tonight as a moderator. We welcome you to this first conference of International Leadership Conference in South America 2021. We are very grateful that you took your time to be with us today, and I'm sure that you will hear incredible speeches delivered by our panelists. Since our summit in 2020 celebrating Korea last year, and thanks to the incredible internet expansion, we had incredible successful meetings at the national level, regional, and world level. The associations established in Seoul, together with the already existed organizations such as International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace and IAPD, responded to our challenge of COVID-19, having including rallies of hope, reaching out millions of people due to the technology. The theme of today is the reunification of Korea as a foundation to realization of past world peace, and taking seriously into consideration by our international leadership of UPF, they emphasize this year we need to solve this crucial problem of long time, the reunification of Korea. Many nations of Latin America helped both militarily and in humanitarian aid to Korea, and the relations, diplomatic relations that were established continue till today. Our founders, Reverend and Mrs. Moon, they expressed their gratitude for these incredible efforts, and they created the little angels that they traveled throughout the world meeting the veterans of the Korean War and heads of states. UPF affirms firmly that the solution of soft power, they're essential in order to build lasting peace. This is a key factor in order to have diplomatic understanding. We understand the responsibility of religious and spiritual leaders to go beyond their personal interest and to follow the ideal of one family under God. The recent celebration of the Interfaith Harmony Week of the United Nations in many of our nations and our branches throughout the world were able to bring together religious leaders, emphasizing the importance of interreligious harmony to bring about world peace. We've been working in all walks of life with initiatives such as the Middle East Peace Initiative since 2003 until today, bringing together many world leaders to discuss and to establish clear proposals to solve the conflict in the Middle East. I'm sure the presentation by our panelists will be a great beginning for this initiative to cooperate between Latin America and Korea. This is the first step to create a think tank with experts from all over the world that will contribute to the reunification of Korea. So without further ado, I would like to begin this first ILC South America 2021. First of all, I would like to present a video Summit Council 2020.
Conflito entre nações.
The conflicts between nations, catastrophes caused by the destruction of environment, poverty, and hunger.
Pobreza e fome. Declínio dos valores
The decline in family values,
reserva para a humanidade
What is the future that awaits humanity?
Fundada em 2005 pelo reverendo
Founded in 2005 by Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jae Han Moon, the Universal Peace Federation seeks to overcome conflict and make its contribution to a world of lasting peace. The UPF has affiliates in most of the nations of the world and develops different activities and peace initiatives under the premises of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Leaders from various fields from different nations participated in the World Summit, a forum for visionaries who look beyond their beliefs and ethnic origin to gather their wisdom for the common good. UPF launched the International Summit Council for Peace, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, and the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, which are meeting to find joint solutions. Since its founding in 2016, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace inspired about 6,000 parliamentarians of 123 nations to find solutions to solve the problems that affected the community of nations. Established in 2017, with the presence of 500 leaders from 20 religions and 70 nations, the Interfaith Association for Peace and Development is well positioned to promote the vision of a human family with God, embracing all religious traditions. Similarly, in 2019, in December, the World Clergy Leadership Conference held in the United States brought together Christian leaders from different regions with an inclusive vision of peace, coexistence, and respect for all people, regardless of their belief or race. Additionally, the International Summit Council for Peace, launched in 2019 in the South Korean capital, offers current and former heads of state a forum to combine their unique wisdom and experiences on global issues. Undoubtedly, all of you gathered here today are the pioneers of this time for the sake of the future. I pray that you can work together with me to build a world of peace.
Esta cúpula também foi lançada por
This summit was also launched by enlightened people in many countries and regions, instituting a Good Governance Award to encourage innovative leadership free from corruption. It works with specialists and stakeholders to solve humanity's most challenging problems. As an NGO with general consultative status, with the United Nations Economic and Social Council, the Women's Federation for World Peace is an international pioneer on the path to sustainable culture of peace through the joint initiative of women from all the fields of action. Also, young people will become the leaders of the next generation. They are active in the Youth and Student for Peace organization, sowing their minds of hope around the world. The Sunhag Peace Prize encourages and recognizes courageous and altruistic efforts for human development and the preservation of the environment. It is an award given to individuals and organizations for their exemplary service that inspires a new generation with a vision for peace. On the theme of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, The 2020 World Summit hosted thousands of academicians and specialists and leaders of faith and government from around the world to discuss the realization of lasting peace. At the Assembly, the International Association for Peace and Economic Development was simultaneously convened. Specialists in economics, finance, and business participated to discuss technological and financial equality based on the values of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. In addition, nearly 500 media professionals from around the world participated in the assembly of the International Association of Media for Peace to support the peace process in the Korean Peninsula. People of all races are born equal, with equal worth. God does not see the color of the skin. The 21st century is the time to transcend racial, national, and religion barriers and live together in harmony. An era ruled by true love has arrived. Through the dialogue and service, the Universal Peace Federation is striving to contribute solutions and real change in the world. UPF invests its ability to inspire national leaders to commit their hearts and resources to causes of sustainable peace. Thank you very much. A big round of applause. It's a hope for a new era. Excellent production from the World Summit 2020. Now, I would like to introduce, and it's an honor for all of us to invite for opening remarks Reverend Dong Mushin, Regional President of UPF South America. I will read about his bio. He is the Regional President of South America. He's graduated in 1990 in the Seoul University in Korea as a Master of Religious Education, Unification Theological Seminary in United States in 2001. He was the head of the Department of Students and Youth for the Unification of Korea since 1996 to 1998, President of the Korean Evangelical Association in the United States since 2003 until 2009, Regional Director of UPF in Latin America and the Caribbean, and President of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification in Latin America and the Caribbean since 2009 until 2017. He's currently the Regional President of UPF in South America since 2017. He's also International Vice President of the Foundation, the Peace Road Foundation, and President of Peace Road Foundation in South America. Let's welcome Reverend Dong Mo Shin. Thank you very much. Dear and distinguished ambassadors for peace, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon. I would like to express my deep gratitude to all of you for attending this international leadership conference organized by UPF South America under the theme The Reunification of Korea as a Basis for World Peace. This topic is very timely because this year we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the visit of Reverend Moon and his wife to North Korea when Kim Il sung was still alive, and when it is also 70 years since the war that divided the Korean Peninsula. I thank the Ambassador for Peace and those who do their best to serve and work in each country in accordance with the wishes of the founders, even in situations like now, where we have little freedom of action due to the COVID-19. when countless people die from it in many parts of the world, also from hunger and pain as a result of conflict and struggles between peoples, races, and religions. In reality, there are obstacles in front of us instead of peace. And I believe that this is the right time to put our fundamental values into practice in our areas of activity. Reverend Moon said the following at the Second World Conference for Peace in 1994 under the title The Fundamental Principle of True Peace. Quote, peace will only be achieved when all men and women share God's love and God's truth and put them into practice. This begins with the individual and expands to the family, society, the nation, and the world to form a global family. Unquote. One of the fundamental values of UPF is that God, the Creator, is the Father and the Mother of humanity. UPF is a sacred community where the leaders of each field assist God and seek to put these values into practice to create a world of peace. In this series of international leadership conferences that we begin today in South America, we will bring together experts from different countries so that they can offer their contribution to the theme of the reunification of Korea as a basis for world peace. We hope that this meeting and the next ones will be an opportunity for all participants to discover a new vision and hope. Once again, I hope I would like to thank you all for this participation. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias, Don Mushin, for your excellent words. Now, allow me to introduce Dr. Simon Faraboli, Secretary General, UPF in South America. He will speak about the significance of the reunification of Korea. But briefly, I will share his bio. He is lawyer, lecturer, and educator, president of Universal Peace Federation in Brazil, and Secretary General of UPF in South America. For the past 42 years, he has been researching the root cause of the problems in light of the teachings of Reverend Moon has worked to develop a culture of peace centered on spiritual values. He participated in UPF events throughout the world promoting moral values to establish health society. Let's welcome the big round of applause, Dr. Simon Foraboli. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I thank the Universal Peace Federation for this conference under the theme The Reunification of the Koreas as a Basis for World Peace. I want to greet all the colleagues in our virtual room and all of those who follow us on YouTube. We live in the era of globalization, both in terms of information as well as communication. And despite the pandemic, we can find ourselves without leaving home. The Korean War started in 1950, 70 years ago. The war ended not with the peace treaty, but with an armistice, leaving the once unified Korean peninsula divided, despite being inhabited by a people with a common history, culture, and language. There were approximately 3 million deaths as a result of the Korean War, sometimes known as the Forgotten War. The fate of the peninsula was not controlled by the Korean people themselves, but the wider geopolitical environment known for decades as the Cold War. The UPF Peace Initiative in Northeast Asia is dedicated to the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. With this in mind, UPF organizes a variety of programs that bring together leading experts from a wide range of professional fields: government, academia, civil society, religious organizations, the media, business, and the arts to explore prospects for increasing relationships, not only between the two Koreas, but also with the other countries interested in the region. The main goal of this soft power approach to peace is to contribute to the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula through dialogue, academic research, and civil society initiatives that create personal connections. Over the next 2 years, UPF will carry out a series of very ambitious peaceful reunification programs and projects, working through associations under the UPF umbrella, which will not only raise awareness about the problem, but will also lead to a variety of recommendations that can be proposed and finally carried out. Our webinar today is a demonstration of this with high level experts from various countries in South America. Looking back over many years, the UPF founders, Dr. Samyang Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, both born in North Korea, did great efforts to promote reconciliation between the Koreas. 30 years ago, they made a historic visit to North Korea and met with then President Kim Il sung to discuss prospects for reconciliation. This meeting resulted in a series of projects carried out in North Korea. Dr. Hak Jahan Moon dedicates a special chapter in her autobiography, Mother of Peace, on this particular subject. In 1998, the Angels Folk Ballet of Korea performed at the Pyonghwa Performing Arts Theater in Pyongyang. At the time, Mr. Cho, president of the National Academy of Arts, said, "El Little Angels did a great job warming the hearts of the people here. I hope this also this will also warm the political leaders of North and South so that a wonderful climate can be created for national unification." For several weeks, beginning in September 2003, groups of South Korean tourists flew directly from South Korea to North Korea for 5-day visits. These were the first South Koreans to visit Pyongyang exclusively for tourist purposes. On several occasions, volunteers from the Universal Peace Federation sent humanitarian aid to citizens of North Korea. For example, in 2013, UPF Europe donated 5 shipments of medical supplies to a children's hospital in North Korea. These, these are just a few examples of UPF's work as part of the Northeast Asia Peace Initiative. Universal Peace Federation considers it very convenient to take advantage of all the available opportunities for the development of various types of economic activities, cultural, sport, and humanitarian projects and exchanges with North Korea as a means to involve Pyongyang in promoting mutual trust and advance in the country's integration into the world community. One of the proposals defended by UPF is the concept of zones of peace created by the United Nations Security Council to promote peace in Jerusalem. During their speeches at the United Nations in 2000, UPF founders proposed the establishment of peace zones in regions where there are serious conflicts, citing as an example the DMZ that divides Korea. A zone of peace would serve as the basis for ongoing negotiations, the management of refugees and international displaced persons, and for the development of industrial and commercial zones that promote economic growth and partnership between nations or territories. To support Korea's peaceful unification process, Universal Peace Federation supports the idea of creating the fifth United Nations office in the demilitarized zone in the Panmunjom region. From my experiences, I have visited South Korea since 1989, and I was able to see an extraordinary qualitative change through technology and cultural, economic, sports, and global integration growth. Today, we have aspects of Korean culture and technology present all over the world. And in 2009, I have visited North Korea for 5 days. It is impossible to describe the feeling one gets when wetting off at Pyongyang airport. It is impossible to compare the difference between the two Koreas. So I was able to understand the need for the reunification of this divided homeland. I believe that true love and truth will prevail over lies, hatred, and hostilities. Dr. Moon, the mother of peace, affirms that the future world, the ideal world, will be the world of a culture of heart and love. It is this heart and love that prompts us to work globally as a family to solve the pain and grief that affect people everywhere. On the other hand, the good done for a person or for a people will benefit all of humanity. Although these are difficult times, we must continue sowing the good seeds of good, love, and peace because when they are born, the world will change. Thank you for joining us in this great cause of healing the pain of the Korean people, a pain that has lasted for more than 70 years. Their pain is also our pain. That is why we're here. And may South America flourish and mature as a continent of hope and peace, blessed by heavenly fortune. Thank you very much for your attention and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferraboli, Secretary General, UPF, South America. Thank you for your words. Today is February 10th, Wednesday, in this first conference, International Leadership Conference 2021, organized by UPF South America. Now, I would like to invite the presenters. We have panelists, very important panelists from Venezuela, Brazil, Paraguay, Peru, and Argentina. Each panel has 5 minutes maximum to present. We'll invite first panelist, Ambassador Julio Cesar Pineda, Ambassador Venezuela in Qatar, Libya, South Korea, Kuwait. I'll share his CV. He has a bachelor's degree in Caracas. He's a lawyer, graduated from the Universidad Central de Venezuela, studied in Geneva, in Switzerland. He has a master's degree in peace studies. He studied in Princeton, United States. He has been the representative of the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. He was a dean in the University of Princeton in Princeton University. Let's welcome Ambassador Julio Cesar Pineda from Venezuela. You're welcome. Good afternoon. Congratulations at the Universal Peace Federation for this incredible initiative, what the United Nations has called Peace and Security International. And with determination since 1945 is to find the peaceful resolution of conflicts, and especially in Korea, to find a definite solution. We remember when I was in Korea during 3 years, we were able to certify how people, common people, but also people at the highest level and universities, the call for peace, especially the reunification of Korea with 5,000 years of history to actually become one. We were witnesses of that desire to find the unification. Precisely, we shared this. We were Latin American ambassadors in Korea, and we have a GRULAG group. We wanted to serve as bridges for peace and to solve any conflict that could come up, seeking the unification of Korea. We know that when they surrendered in 1945, one year after the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we found that division until today, as the previous presenter said, very painful. And after 30 years of Japanese occupation and international interest affected in how to divide the world, the Soviet Union, the North, Pyongyang, and this through the South, United States. Then, with the revolution of China, October 1st, 1945, there was a new ingredient that affected the reality of Korea. That's why since 1950 until 1953, 3 million victims, a disaster. And as we shared before, it was never a peace treaty, but only an armistice. Always the Korean people long for that unity. And we witnessed with people on the streets, especially at university, we because we participate in many academic activities, we felt that desire to bring about the unification of Korea to be one country. And like it happened in Vietnam or in Germany, as an example, that it could be a model for unification of Korea. And the summit with Kim Jong-un and the President Moon Jae-in in April and May, they opened the door to negotiate, to dialogue, more than just one nation, more than the two nations, to think about one nation. In Korea, their interests, the big powers, the United States has its interests, China has its interest, and not only in Korea, but in the region, but also Russia. Russia so close to Korea, and Japan, a powerful economic power. So many times, instead of working for the unity, we see that these big powers that they would be wonderful to have one Korea. It's not happening. Even with President Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un, they shook their hands, and I'm sorry, and Kim Jong-un and President Moon Jae-in, they walk and they shook hands together. It was a hope. The potential lies in a unified Korea is immeasurable, and the economic, political, and social scientific power that a single Korea would represent is unimaginable, and that would help the whole world. That's why the theme is not only just for Asia, for Korea, but it's also for Asia, and unification in Korea would be a paradigm of how international relations should be after this incredible pandemic with the impact in finance and the economy and between the cooperation among people and the significance of dialogue in discussion in conversations in negotiations and see how we saw in Germany the the unification in 1990. It would be the unification of Korea would be great for Asia, that would become a, a, a power for the whole region. So those who were in the diplomatic corps, we we applauded the effort in Vietnam, and then in 1990 the reunification of Germany. So with 49 people in South Korea, 20 in North Korea, this would be an incredible power by coming together in peace, connected to international system. Uh, and those of us who retire from diplomacy, we believe with the new negotiations, especially after the nuclear treaty between the United States and Russia, we see especially the United States and China and Russia to have this dialogue despite the difference, to have practical steps to find lasting peace. And I hope to conclude, I hope that we can all help and contribute and thinking of the history of the Korean people, but to emphasize the need for the Korean reunification, not only for the Korean people, but for international peace and security. The reunification of Korea, and on that foundation, we will help us for peace in the world. In Latin America, we are a peace zone. We are the only region of the world of peace. So we hope that this zone of peace could be established in the DMZ, and that that beyond the show of weapons, we could see, we feel the desire of the Korean people for the peaceful reunification beyond the 38th parallel and that division of 200 miles. We could really work for solidarity, reunion, and new reality international. As a diplomat in Korea, I saw the will of the Korean people for this reunification, and and I applaud any intent such as UPF to promote peace and security international, beginning with the peaceful reunification of Korea. We could see the incredible potential and the democratic model, this incredible revolution that happened in South Korea, and even the great example how to fight the pandemic. Justice, democracy, equality can walk the same path. For that's why those who have had the experience to have lived in Korea, we want to support you. We want to establish and support this initiative to finally see the reunification of Korea, because it will be the peace for the Asian region, but also particularly for universal peace in this new world order that is emerging after this crisis with the pandemic, such as the Spanish flu, created a new order. Mr. Ambassador, please, your time is up. So we can find a way for that peaceful reunification of Korea. and a world left in peace. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ambassador Cesar Pineda, for your excellent presentation. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Carmen Lucia Ruete. I'll share briefly her. She's from Brazil. She's a businesswoman, psychologist, consul in Georgia. She's director of the Consul Association in Brazil. She's the director of the Consul Ladies in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. Let's welcome Dr. Consul Carmen Lucia Porto Ruete.
Boa noite a todos. Eu parabenizo a iniciativa da Federação para a Paz Mundial, ILC 2021, Sudamérica, e agradeço a oportunidade de falarmos sobre a unificação da Coreia como base para a realização da paz mundial. A história da Coreia é riquíssima e milenar, e devemos considerar que a Coreia estava sob o domínio japonês entre 1910 e 1945. O Império Japonês perdeu a Segunda Guerra Mundial. O norte foi tomado pela União Soviética, sob o comando de Stalin, e o sul pelos Estados Unidos. Com essa disputa bipolar no mundo, causada pela Guerra Fria, após a Segunda Guerra, a Coreia ficou dividida, então, em dois, sendo o paralelo 38 a linha divisória. Em 48, foram instalados dois governos. O Norte, um país socialista comunista, com influência total da União Soviética, e o Sul, um país capitalista com influência americana. Em 1950, há o início de uma guerra entre o Norte e o Sul, e a China comunista auxilia o Norte, e os aliados capitaneados pelos americanos auxiliam o Sul. Mas nessa guerra não houve vencedores, só 3 milhões de mortos em ambos os lados, estima-se esse número. Em 1953 foi assinado o armistício, entre os dois países, que restaurou a fronteira e ficou valendo o paralelo 38. E no corredor desse paralelo, a chamada zona desmilitarizada. Um fato interessante é que nunca foi assinado um tratado de paz entre as duas Coreias. Com a divisão das Coreias, Kim Il-sung foi escolhido o primeiro líder da Coreia do Norte. E, em 1991, com a queda da União Soviética, causou grande impacto na política e na economia da Coreia do Norte. Então, em 1994, Kim Il-sung falece e assume a liderança seu filho, o Kim Jong-il. Mas, nesse ano, começa um período da fome, por duas razões. 3 anos sem ajuda da União Soviética e sem comércio exterior com a União Soviética, e chuvas e inundações devastaram a colheita. E esse período de fome se estende por 4 longos anos, e milhares de pessoas foram vitimizadas. E a Coreia do Sul, nos anos 80, então, adotou a democracia, se desenvolveu investindo na educação e indústria nacional, e na produção de carros, navios e eletrônicos. E a Coreia do Norte é um dos países mais fechados do mundo, e a saída de informações não é permitida. O mundo não pode ajudar. Em 1994, a Coreia do Norte inicia seu programa nuclear e, em 2006, faz seu primeiro teste nuclear. Em 2011, seu filho Kim Jong-un assume o poder. Não podemos fazer um comparativo entre essas duas Coreias. As diferenças são extremamente acentuadas. Mas há uma pergunta a ser feita, 2 perguntas. paz entre as duas Coreias, haveria essa possibilidade ou a unificação? A paz é mais simples de conseguir. Acordos comerciais, culturais e tecnológicos de produção agrícola e comercial aproximam os dois lados. Possuem a mesma história, a mesma língua, antepassados comuns, mesma religião, isso é, as mesmas raízes. Se conseguirmos um acordo de paz, o primeiro passo foi dado. A unificação será mais simples. A própria população, vagarosamente, começará a verificar as diferenças de qualidade de vida, educação e tecnológica. A ONU e o Conselho de Segurança, com seus 5 membros, certamente juntarão esforços para promover a unificação da Coreia. A China é um ator importante, pois a Coreia do Norte e a China possuem um sistema político semelhante. A China pode mostrar que o sistema comunista de governo pode sobreviver com o sistema capitalista econômico. Concluindo, eu não posso, desde aqui, com um grito, uma voz distante e isolada, fazer uma grande mudança. Mas posso, sim, plantar uma semente e que essa semente germine. E se todos nós do planeta plantássemos essa semente de união e paz, creio que possa ecoar e dar um estalo no coração dos governantes, que vivem com a ilusão do poder e de uma segurança que não existe. Sendo assim, quem sabe, governantes farão a escolha do amor que trará paz e união para aquele canto do mundo. Para finalizar, eu quero mencionar a teoria de Carl Jung sobre o inconsciente coletivo. Cada um de nós é um influenciador nato. Ainda que não enxerguemos isso, somos responsáveis por induzir alguém em algum momento. Plantamos a semente de informação que este ente poderá reproduzir fielmente no seu futuro. Se todos nós plantarmos essa semente, começaremos a influenciar de forma inconsciente, quebrando paradigmas, modificando os pensamentos das pessoas e
Doctora
governantes.
Carmen, le queda medio minuto, por favor. Gracias.
Para obtermos a unificação da Coreia como base para a realização da paz mundial, concretizando assim o nosso desejo. Muito grata, graças a todos. Obrigada.
Muchas gracias, cónsul doctora Carmen Lucía Porto-Ruete, por su excelente exposición. Estamos muy agradecidos. Seguidamente, permítame presentar al doctor Aníbal Casal, primer embajador de Paraguay en Corea
Allow
del
me
Sur.
to present Aníbal Casar, the first Paraguayan ambassador in South Korea.
Ex-embajador paraguayo en Corea del Sur.
He is the ex-ambassador of Paraguay in South Korea. He lawyer, a master of strategy studies.
Encargado de negocios de Paraguay ante Taiwán, incrementando la cooperación de Taiwán, autor de libros y ensayos publicados en Paraguay y en Corea. Recibamos con fuertes aplausos al doctor Aníbal Casal, primer embajador de Paraguay. Adelante,
Let us
doctor.
receive Aníbal
Gracias,
Casar.
Jaime, muy amable.
Good
Una
afternoon.
pequeña corrección.
Very nice of you.
10 años de
Just a small
embajador
correction. I've
en
been
Seúl, Corea, y
ambassador
los últimos 3
for
años
10
decano
years
del cuerpo
in Seoul,
diplomático.
and 3 years as a part of a
Mis
diplomatic
antecesores en
mission.
el uso de la palabra, tanto el embajador Pineda como la doctora Carmen Lucía, han
So both
repasado
ambassadors have truly
vastamente el tema histórico.
spoken
El
about
problema de
the
Corea no se puede
historic
ver
theme of Korea.
sin analizar el tema histórico.
So this
Así que
current situation of Korea
el
cannot
tema
be addressed
del
without understanding its
involucramiento
history.
de la Unión Soviética,
The
luego
fact
China,
of the
Estados Unidos, y hay que recordar
Soviet
también
Union,
que la
China,
defensa de
and the
Corea del
involvement
Sur
of
se
the
realiza
US.
bajo la sombrilla de las
You have
Naciones
to
Unidas,
understand
donde
that
participaron
development of
15
Korea
naciones, 15
has
países, entre ellos
undergone
Colombia, único
development
país
under the
de
umbrella of the UN,
Latinoamérica.
in which
Cuando
many
sucede
different
esto,
countries have
se
assisted,
produce un problema
among whom
más grave,
Colombia was the only one from
porque se
Latin America to the other hand.
internacionaliza se internacionaliza el problema de las dos Coreas.
So it's
Al
interesting
internacionalizarse,
because this
hay muchos otros factores
internationalizes
que juegan
this issue.
por el
And once
futuro, por
the
la paz
problem
o
is
por la
becomes
unificación.
international, there are a lot
Para
of
mí,
factors that come into play for peace.
lo que
and for the
sucedió
future.
lleva a la situación
So
en
what I
un
see, what
campo de
happened,
imprevisibilidad. Y yo lo
takes this
llamaría como
to
si
a whole
fuese
new
una
field.
mini guerra mundial,
And
donde
as one could say,
la Unión Soviética y China estaban
converts us
testando
into a
la fuerza y
small
la voluntad de los
world
Estados Unidos.
war in which Russia and
Voy
China
a tratar de
were
resumir
battling
porque
against
ya
the
se habló,
forces of the United Nations.
se mencionó ya el tema de que es una guerra inconclusa. 70 años
has been
de
mentioned
guerra,
that this is
técnicamente hay nada más que un
war
armisticio.
that has
Y me
not
pregunto siempre
come to
cómo
an end
las Naciones
over all
Unidas,
these years.
que
And
fue la
my
que
question is,
promovió la
how is it
defensa de
that
Corea del
the
Sur,
United
no se
Nations that
movió más de lo que
promoted
tenía que haber hecho
the
para
defense
llegar a
of South
concluir
Korea
una
hasn't
paz?
really
Yendo
moved
más
on forward
adelante y
to
pasando un poco
obtain true
la parte
peace.
histórica, porque hay muchos detalles
So
que
moving
el
forward
tiempo no nos
from
da para hablar
this
sobre
historic
eso.
essence, there are so many
El
things
tema de
that
la
we should talk about, but we
reunificación
don't
es
have
un
the time.
tema
In terms of
repetido varias veces.
reunification,
Muchos especialistas antes que
something that's
nosotros
been
han
repeated
dedicado
time
horas
and
y
time
horas de
again,
investigación para proponer
where
distintas fórmulas,
people who are dedicated
pero
to this have really come up
desafortunadamente
with many
cuando
different
están en
ways,
confrontación dos
but
sistemas ideológicos
unfortunately,
diferentes,
when
se
two
pone
different
muy difícil,
ideologies are
aunque no
in
imposible,
confrontation,
llegar
it
a
becomes very
una,
difficult,
primero a
but
una
not
paz
impossible,
y luego a una
to
reunificación.
reach
Por eso
peace and reunification.
voy a tratar de ir directamente a
So
las
this is why I
contribuciones que
will
hicieron
try
los
to
distintos
go
presidentes coreanos
directly
posguerra.
to
Park
the
Chung-hee,
contributions
por
of
ejemplo, en el
the
año
Korean presidents.
gobernó del 63 al
So
72,
Park Chung-hee
era un
in 72,
acérrimo anticomunista que
he
tenía muy
was
poca
anti-communist
química con Kim Il-sung.
and had very
Kim
little
Il-sung intentó
chemistry
un
with Kim
asesinato
Il-sung.
varias veces de este
So Kim Il-sung
presidente.
had tried
Al
to
final termina
assassinate this
asesinado también en un teatro.
president many times. Who
Lograron una declaración
is
conjunta
assassinated
en julio
in a
de
theater later.
1972, donde hablaban de la reunificación sin dependencia de fuerzas externas,
where they
proceso
reached
pacífico, etcétera,
a
etcétera. Y
joint
son los
declaration
mismos
in
temas.
which they will
Desafortunadamente,
try and reach
Estados Unidos no
an
aprobó ni
agreement
apoyó
without the
esta idea. Pasaron así 5 cumbres
intervening of
y
exterior forces.
muchísimos acuerdos. Todos quedaron en el tintero. Voy a mencionar
So
la
along the years,
contribución
there
de
were
otros
many
dos
agreements,
presidentes. Por
yet none
ejemplo,
of these were
Roh-tae-woo
definite for
fue el
peace.
último de los presidentes militares. Hay un proceso en Corea en que de posguerra que manejan
So
los
Roh-tae-woo was
militares
the last
y los militares son los que
military
más o menos
power that
coercionan al desarrollo económico del país.
was
Y llega un momento,
leading these kind
no
of
sé si fue un
issues.
pacto entre
And
los políticos o no, pero que ellos
there's this
deciden
fine line
abandonar
between
el poder
politics
y entregan a
and the
los
military.
políticos para que
So
perfeccionen la democracia coreana.
it was at this time
Roh-tae-woo
that the
fue ese
military
último militar
gave
que le
over
correspondió
their
organizar
role
los Juegos
to the
Olímpicos.
politics
Los
to
Juegos Olímpicos
achieve
coreanos
peace.
fue el momento culminante en que Corea del Sur entra a nivel mundial como un país serio,
So
moderno,
this
económico,
this
adelantado en la
battle of
tecnología.
Korea
Roh-tae-woo
and
fue el que
this
organizó. Yo estuve
passing
en ese
of the
tiempo
military
y
power to
fue
political
realmente
power
una
is what
fiesta mundial
has put
que vinieron de todas
South
partes
Korea
del
in the
mundo.
map as
La
a very
contribución
serious and
de
business-driven
Roh-tae-woo a la
country.
reunificación fue la idea de un
So the
Commonwealth coreano,
contribution that
reconociendo el
Roh-tae-woo
sistema político del
has
norte y llevar a
given
la
to
prosperidad
Korea
común y la
is
consistencia en etapas progresivas para la
this
reunificación
new
final.
change into a political and
Ay,
economic
y no
advance.
me va a dar tiempo para ver mi propuesta. Bueno, déjenme llegar a mi propuesta entonces. Déjenme llegar a mi propuesta.
So,
Mi
I
propuesta
see
es
I'm running out
una,
of time. I would like to go straight to what my proposal is.
Antecedentes de Alemania. Trabajar directamente a nivel de pueblo.
So
En mi época, la
my
reunificación era un
proposition
tema de
is to work
élite.
directly
De élite
with,
política, élite intelectual.
the
El
people.
pueblo no estuvo siempre involucrado. Es más, el
Along
pueblo
these years, it's always been
pensaba
politics,
que,
it's
y
been
hasta ahora no
leaders.
sé yo si sigue pensando, que la reunificación va a costar muy caro, así como costó en Alemania, y que era mejor continuar. Entonces, atacar, informar y convencer al pueblo de Sur Corea la importancia de la reunificación. 2, reactivar la experiencia industrial de Quezon City, que terminó, después de 12 años se cerró esa experiencia muy buena, donde se empleaban obreros de Corea del Norte y los de Corea del Sur instalaron una serie de empresas, etcétera, etcétera. 3, los tiempos cambian. Corea del Norte ahora tiene acceso a misiles balísticos y armas nucleares. Yo no me explico cómo China permitió eso. En este momento, su protegido, Corea del Norte, está al mismo nivel en términos nucleares que China, y es el segundo país en la región que tiene armas nucleares. Es un peligro muy grande para la estabilidad regional. Es importante entonces trabajar buscando entonces la persuasión y poniendo, tratando de que Corea del Norte tenga una mejor aceptación a nivel mundial. También escucho, también hay que volver a movilizar, en mi opinión, al resto del mundo en favor de la paz de Corea del Norte. Parece que se enfrió un poco esa voluntad. En mi época, cada 15 días llegaba algún presidente de alguna parte del mundo a traer el apoyo a Corea del Sur. Hoy día yo no escucho más de eso. Entonces, movilizar a los países y especialmente a aquellos países que tienen relaciones diplomáticas con Corea del Norte. Corea del Norte es miembro de las Naciones Unidas, al igual que Corea del Sur. Entonces, hay muchos países que tienen relaciones diplomáticas también con Corea del Norte, y ellos pueden influir muchísimo. Y finalmente, escucho el tema, la idea de influir por el campo religioso. En mi época, las religiones de Corea no participaban mucho en la unificación, no tenían mucha consistencia el apoyo que daban. Yo creo que la Iglesia de la Unificación podría liderar ese movimiento, y no solo dentro de Corea del Sur, sino a nivel mundial, para pedir y para influir en sus respectivos líderes que apoyen primero a la paz y luego la reunificación de Corea del Norte. Bueno, gracias por la tolerancia.
Thank you, Aníbal Casal. We're grateful for your great exposition. So our next panelist is Priscilla. So she's a counselor in Brazil, of educators for the world of peace, is a lawyer, and has many written papers.
Recibamos con fuertes aplausos a la doctora Priscilla.
Let us receive her with a big round of applause.
Gracias, buenas tardes. Señores presentes, agradezco la oportunidad de poder hablar.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to address an issue that deserves international attention and to connect to defend the principles of universal peace. At an international conference, the United Nations Secretary General reiterated the United Nations' full support for promoting the inter-Korean dialogue, noting that the United Nations is ready to discuss the important forms of support. However, before sharing with everyone present here some actions that we are going to carry out in Brazil and Latin America in this special mission, we cannot stop talking about the issue of unification or any other question of pacification of the Koreas. If we do it without addressing the significance of the official mediator who acted in political and religious dialogue, the Reverend Sang Myung-moon, known as Reverend Moon, his history and total dedication in this area must be highlighted in this panel. Reverend Moon was born in 1920 in what we now be North Korea. And at the age of 25, he created his first manuscript of the Divine Principle. With this Christian basis, his religious and political teachings on the separation of the Koreas is considered a relevant divine conflict. In 1950, he moved to South Korea. His religious ideals were opposed to the North Korean regime. He ended up suffering persecution, but he did not give up on pacifying the Koreas and addressing world peace between the two nations. In 1994, with the end of Cold War, Reverend Moon was received for the first time by Kim Il-sung in 1991. The same North Korean dictator who decades earlier had sent Reverend Moon to forced labor camp. At this meeting, received at a high level and welcome as a head of state, Reverend Moon met with the supreme leader addressing issues of world peace. Since then, they have maintained dialogue during the disconnection between the two Korean nations, even in time of fragility after the Korean War. In this way, Reverend Moon earned the respect of other world leaders, such as the United States, the former Soviet Union, Argentina, and Brazil itself, expanding a reflection of world peace in more than 190 countries. Political diplomacy was treated with respect by and was welcomed by the concepts and the ideals of Reverend Moon and his quest for world peace. He began to travel, preaching in lands throughout the world. His organization began to take care of the educational structures, including television, communication technology, serving and supporting social institutes such as soccer, for example. In North Korea, Ramon gained space and to be able to own his and he owned his own automaker. In 2003, Reverend Moon organized even his sponsor World Soccer Cup, the Peace Cup, which featured Pelé himself as an official guest of honor. In order to harmonize international relations with Latin America and North Korea, Reverend Moon took the Atlético Sorocaba of Sao Paulo team, one of the soccer teams from his foundation, and used it as a diplomatic strategy in order to work and sponsor the World Cup in 2020. He promoted a friendly soccer game between the North Korean Communist country and Atlético Sorocaba of Brazil. Numerous strategies were created to maintain relations and harmonize, see the harmonization between the Koreas and the world. In fact, Reverend Moon has managed to break through barriers and promote actions for world peace. After his death in 2012, several state leaders spoke out, including the current North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, who had just came to power in his country. Kim Jong-un prayed for Reverend Moon, who worked hard to achieve national harmony, prosperity, reunification, and world peace in a concrete way. This led to further recognition of North Korea, which posthumously decorated Reverend Moon with the Korea National Reunification Award. Reverend Moon made history as a figure who managed to transmit and expand his teachings to more than 190 countries, preaching world peace and acknowledging all those around him by instituting countless and acknowledging ambassadors for peace. His legacy today continues through the ambassadors for peace throughout the world who have committed themselves to the philosophical ideas of Reverend Moon's ideas. With his global citizenship and a lover for world peace, Reverend Moon is indeed a symbol of the reunification and the peace and the pacification of the Koreas. In Brazil, we started the movement committed to the legitimate ideas of Reverend Moon to promote peace and unification of the Koreas. We're mobilizing the main leaders who are part of the ambassadors for peace in Brazil, and I invited Latin American to participate. I invite Latin America to participate in this historic movement. United Nations Associations of Educators for World Peace and UPF together will organize the creation of the International Council for the Pacification of Koreas, which will work with government, institutional, and corporate authorities in favor of the reunification of Korea as the basis for the unification of the world. A team of collaborators, partners, and academic staff will be formed in order to establish commissions aligned with the mission together with all Latin American ambassadors so we can do even more for the culture of peace in the world. We understand that peace is one of the most important factors to see harmony among all peoples. And we will continue with this legacy. Let's go together. Thank you very much.
Ahora, desde el Perú, tenemos la ponencia muy especial también del doctor Óscar José Maurtua, de Romaña. Es canciller de Perú, ministro de Relaciones Exteriores. Es jurista y diplomático, abogado por la Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos, licenciado en Relaciones Internacionales por la Academia Diplomática del Perú, posgrados de las universidades de Oxford, Johns Hopkins y Comité Jurídico Interamericano de la OEA, magíster en Gestión Pública por la Universidad Tecnológica del Perú, presidente de la Sociedad Peruana de Derechos Internacional y es canciller de la República. Recibimos con fuertes aplausos al doctor Óscar José Maurtua de Romaña. Adelante, doctor. Bienvenido a este ILC.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good evening. I would like to thank warmly this invitation by UPF to participate in this very important forum. Peru has a clear policy regarding to the Pacific Rim. I had the honor to have participate in different diplomatic missions in Asia for more than 5 years. And I've been a delegate in front of the Asia Pacific Economic Council, and I had the honor to preside visits to South Korea. Of course, the issue of North and South Korea is not only Asia Pacific, but is affecting world peace that United Nations has been fighting for, as well as Universal Peace Federation, with an incredible vision going beyond nations and borders throughout decades regarding a conflict that is affecting the whole planet more than 7 decades. Even though I must say that it started in the critical issues in the 1950s when the Korean War began, the situation of both states has been developing. The feeling of reunification, it's true, has been decreasing throughout the time, which is reflecting that the challenges for a reunifications and the political interest that are coming up in this context, they have been evolving to the point to see the viability even of a permanent separation and keep the status quo of the sovereignty among these two nations. So I be able to see a survey in South Korea by the Institute of Korea for the Unification between May and June 2020, less than 10 months ago. People that were served, 75% felt that if South Korea and North Korea can coexist specifically peacefully, without any nuclear war, it shouldn't be necessary a reunification. Only 27% was in favor of this measure. This last figure represents a descent of 11% compared to a survey realized 2016. That means 5 years ago. In a similar context, 90% of the people that were surveyed, they consider that it's necessary the alliance between South Korea and the United States, which shows that as long as this cooperation exists and is possible, the reunification would be unnecessary, even against the diplomatic relations between the American nation and South Korea. Even though there are similar characteristics between both characteristics due to its genesis, it is important to mention that in different latitudes, there are disputes that are not solved that is affecting the international community. In Peru has been also part of this conflict in its country or nearby nation. For example, the problem with Chile, and there were confrontations, but Peru started diplomatic initiative in order to solve the conflict. It ended with the sentence through a judicial process with International Court of Justice. This solution called for negotiation, good offices, and especially the intention to solve this controversy, historical controversy, through pacific means, going through a judicial step. This was a strong message to community international, how we can advance and develop through pacific means to solve controversies when there is a will and conviction in politics. As we know, the history of the Korean Peninsula has been marked by hostilities and military tensions that has been increasing over 7 decades. And this antagonism has shown the participation of different actors with geopolitical interest and economic interest that have been supporting in different moments in history either one or the other Korea. Both in North Korea and South Korea, culturally, they are united by this Urinim Som Kimik, which means that they must be Koreans that show their path without interference of other countries. It's something that is still missing till today, that among themselves they have to clarify. But we cannot be absent. We cannot be out of this. And actors such as Universal Peace Federation, institutions that long for peace in our planet because it's the higher purpose that humanity is looking for it. Thank you so much.
Por su excelente participación. Estamos ya con poco tiempo para terminar, pero todavía estamos con nuestros panelistas y nuestro sexto panelista y último de esta noche o esta tarde desde la Argentina. Presentamos al licenciado Carlos Agustín Menéndez. Él es especialista.
I'd like to present Carlos Menéndez.
Además, es licenciado en Ciencia Política de la Universidad de Buenos Aires, UBA, becario del programa de
the license of political sciences, and has written a paper on the violation of human rights from North Korea, and now works with finances in an international stage. Let us receive him with a strong round of applause. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to share about our thoughts for today's theme. I celebrate that we can truly share about these things. As you know, United Nations are born in 1945 after the Second World War with the purpose of maintaining peace worldwide. Even though the UN has no harder task than to resolve this problem for the attack of North Korea. So the battle was held in the Naktung River, where they took control of lines of So after this, the Chinese nation would invade and form part of this war as well. So in that sense, we have to talk about a few things. First of all, remember that the War of Korea is still existing since there is no peace treaty. In second place, that the war keeps on generating negative effects. So it's important to ask ourselves, how can we reach a longing peace, uniting these two opposing nations.
Commission of Inquiry, en su informe del año 2014, recabando información de diversas fuentes, concluyó que se violan todos los derechos humanos en el país.
So the UN has declared that pretty much North Korea is violating every single human rights known in their country. So no liberty of expression, no liberty, no physical liberty, no religious liberty, no transit liberty, or any liberty of any kind.
Ha traficado drogas, personas y armas. Ha cometido actos terroristas para extorsionar a países, entre ellos
committed terrorist actions. For example, the Korean Air Flight 858 in 1987, various kidnappings in Japan, South Korea, and many other South Asian countries. So it has a wide range of missiles from short, intermediate, and long, and international range with nuclear materials, as well as biological and chemical weapons. So in this sense, it's important that the country understands that we cannot back North Korea. We must make everybody understand the true dangers that North Korea presents to the world.
De allí, ante el total aislamiento de Corea del Norte y su aliado principal, China, que es el principal sostén del régimen norcoreano, y por lo tanto, escollo para la reunificación, creo yo...
The idea that I am planning is the idea of not backing up North Korea and making it understand that their posture is completely erratic. And by cutting out its source of some ministries from South Korea, in China in particular, it would really have no other choice but to look for peace.
A las rondas de preguntas.
So let us go now to the questions and answers.
Vamos a pedir a la magíster Rosa Chinchayán. Ella es gerente del canal Rumbo Digital de TV en el Perú. Entonces vamos a pedir por favor que solamente seleccione a tres panelistas para que pueda dar estas preguntas. Vamos entonces a recibir a la magíster Rosa Chinchayán Román del canal Rumbo Digital TV de Perú, quien se va a encargar de hacer las preguntas a los respectivos panelistas. Adelante, magíster Rosa Chinchayán. Bienvenida.
Muchas gracias, Jaime. Muy buenas tardes a todos nuevamente, líderes e invitados en general. Bueno, en este caso, en verdad la participación de todos es muy importante, pero vamos a preguntarle al doctor Julio César Pineda, embajador de Venezuela. ¿Qué piensa de la solicitud de una quinta oficina de la ONU para la región de Asia-Pacífico en la región de la DMZ de Corea? Embajador. Embajador Julio César, ¿me escuchó?
Pero no me responde. ¿Aló? ¿Me oye?
¿Sí?
Mire, sí. Yo fui diplomático en México y trabajé mucho con la OPANAL, que es la Organización para la Desnuclearización de América Latina. Precisamente cuando la crisis de los misiles entre la Unión Soviética en esa época y Estados Unidos, Kennedy y Khrushchev, llegaron a una solución, a negociar y a crear un mecanismo para la protección de las armas nucleares en América Latina. Yo creo que ese modelo, como decía en mi intervención, es único en el mundo de las zonas habitadas de desnuclearización. Podríamos emplearlo también para otras zonas de paz. Creo que el primer orador de esta tarde también la propuso. Y podría ser perfectamente la zona desnuclearizada. Claro, esto exigiría negociaciones, como lo decía también el señor canciller, ex canciller del Perú, dentro del artículo 33 de la Carta de Naciones Unidas, solución pacífica de controversias, y encontrando una solución entre Corea del Norte y Corea del Sur, ya sea por vía diplomática, por negociación o incluso por la vía jurídica, que es la Corte Internacional de Justicia, se podrían llegar, entre otros acuerdos, a una zona desnuclearizada, que sería importante, y también a una zona de paz. Creo que es una propuesta que puede llegar a la Federación y seguirla impulsando a nivel de los países, porque no solamente necesita el apoyo del gobierno, sino también de la sociedad civil. Por eso decía que en las universidades deberíamos trabajar mucho el tema de la historia, la cultura y sobre todo el problema coreano, porque resolver el problema coreano es contribuir a la paz y a la seguridad internacional.
Agradecemos al doctor Julio César Pineda, embajador de Venezuela, por su respuesta. Muchas gracias. Fuertes aplausos, por favor, para él.
So, Dr. Oscar Jose Baurta from Romania, ex-Chancellor of Peru. From your point of view, why is it taking so long, or is it so complicated to reunite Korea?
Very good.
It's a
question.
Very good question, and I think
this
is the question that brings us to this truly important exercise to present new points of views and new ideas. I think it's still
Cold War, and
the
on the one hand, we see
the Cold War, even though the Berlin Wall has come down, but
we still have that tension. North Vietnam, South Vietnam is another reality. It's another
truly been affected.
Economy.
We're talking
China
about Vietnam.
is a different
China
reality.
has a totally
Korea,
different
North Korea,
reality. North Korea is that
an orthodox that persists with the Marxist philosophy,
insisting in a
totalitarian,
Marxist
Stalinist,
ideology
but
and
survives.
survives.
Nobody knows
how.
It's pathetic.
It seems
but
pathetic,
it's
but
continuous.
It is surviving.
And this has prolonged, definitely has prolonged. And I agree,
this is
there has
a
to
truly
be a
important
substantial,
question,
a real
and
solution.
the answer must be something
Statistics
substantial and real.
that I relied on, there's no interest in reunification,
there are so many,
because it's to mix totalitarianism with democracy.
So
there
many
was a military dictatorship in South
that,
Korea. There's no doubt about
truly
it.
say
However,
that there is no that
they
interest
have
isn't really
become
formed,
democratic,
the
and they're in
interest
the
to truly
democratic
unite
process. I made
these two
even
ideologies.
official presidential
Yeah,
visits
Korea
to Korea.
is
South
South Korea is
right now is in
the summit,
is the
right? It's
club of
one of
prosperous
the
countries. That's a great example.
examples of
North Korea, though,
a truly successful
try
country.
to use to show
North
the public
Korea
opinion that
was used, for
he
example,
can have this face-to-face with the North
Trump
Korean
tried
leader.
to show a kind
However,
of a face-to-face relationship
something
with
that
North
is
Korea.
not so popular,
But this is
because it
something that
reminds us of
I feel
the
that
Vietnam War.
politics
We don't see the light at
aren't
the end of
really
the tunnel. I
showing
don't
us
see
a
it.
light
I don't
at
see
the end of
anything
the tunnel.
magic that will happen.
I
think that
entities,
organizations
sort of
such as
like
UPF,
UPF,
they have a
are
credible
truly
role, a crucial role,
leading
of creating
protagonist
consensus,
role to truly
pushing, moving forward, and
hold
little
on
by
and
little,
reform
and then
this
having meetings,
unity.
eventually heads of states. It's a
This
long
is a
process.
really long
But
path
just to shake
in which,
hands, or the really
those people in
determination
power
to
must come
solve
as
this
one.
issue? How can we mix Stalinist regime with the democratic
how
regime?
can
Is
you
very
unite
difficult.
a Marxist ideology
Let's
with
see what comes
economic
after the pandemic that
ideology?
actually
It's
created
truly very
a
hard.
global
But
agenda. All of us,
this goes beyond
we have
the
suffered
nation
the
and becomes
challenges
a
of
global
COVID.
situation.
We don't know in North Korea if we are
So,
sick, if a pandemic
this is
is there. We
something
don't know
that,
anything. We don't know.
We don't
There's
even
no
know
freedom. There's
what's going on in Korea.
the
We don't know
social
how
media
they're
is not
managing
allowed.
with the pandemic. It's something that
So
they
I
really don't
admire
have
the
any
role of
connections.
UPF.
I truly admire the
And
work
I
of the
admire
UPF
the
and the
founder.
leader,
I
the
admire the
founder.
leader.
He's
Is
truly
a
inspiring. He's
pacifist,
a
true, with a
pacifist
great
at a
world
world level.
prestigious
Thank
and
you very much.
recognition.
Por compartir sus apreciaciones tan acertadas. Nos dirigimos ahora al licenciado Agustín Menéndez de Argentina, especializado en asuntos de la península de Corea. Licenciado, una gran preocupación. Sabemos que más del 50% de la economía de Corea del Norte se gasta en aparato militar, en detrimento, obviamente, de las necesidades básicas de la población. ¿Cómo podemos ayudar a los líderes que se den cuenta de esta distorsión de prioridades?
Bueno, como bien indica, eso es parte de lo que se denomina política de Songun en Corea del Norte, que es que el aspecto militar predomina por encima del mantenimiento de la vida social del pueblo norcoreano. En ese sentido, hay un gran debate que se da principalmente con las ONGs que ayudan humanitariamente a Corea del Norte, por el hecho de que se suele poner el foco en la idea, por un lado, de aislar a Corea del Norte a partir de las sanciones financieras dirigidas del Consejo de Seguridad de Naciones Unidas, que implementan las distintas unidades de información financiera de todo el mundo a partir del organismo madre, que es el GAFI, y por el otro es cómo saber que efectivamente esa ayuda internacional va y ayuda al pueblo norcoreano que sufre la inanición crónica debido a las políticas sociales del gobierno norcoreano, ¿no? Es decir, toda divisa que ingresa a Corea del Norte primero va a sostener al régimen, que es justamente el aspecto militarista que tienen, el Ejército Popular de Corea, que es el sostén del régimen con sus cabecillas, son los que permiten que se siga manteniendo en el poder la dinastía Kim, ya de estos 70 años, y por el otro lado, el sufrimiento del pueblo coreano ante la pésima gestión que llevan adelante no solo el Partido de los Trabajadores de Corea, sino su principal dirigente, Kim Jong-un, en la actualidad, ¿no? Solo para agregar un dato, últimamente se ha barajado la idea de que lleva adelante una política de líneas paralelas, ese es el eufemismo que ha utilizado, que es que tiene que haber un desarrollo no solo de la parte militar como primordial acción de gobierno, sino también de desarrollo social, para que no sufra la carestía que sufren, digamos, los estudios que se han hecho en base a aquellos afortunados que han logrado escapar del régimen, da cuenta de que los padecimientos de todo tipo que se sufren, bueno,
all kinds of people that are suffering, and it's truly a reflection of these kind of politics that North Korea has, right? Is there any way that leaders can help to right this distortion of priorities? Well, I mean, it's really hard because the decision finally is in the North Korean government's hands, right? So the only way we could help as a civil society from outside North Korea is that the humanitarian help that we can send to North Korea is truly received by the people there, and it doesn't go straight to the military. You know, the people who are truly suffering through this regiment, especially the military.
Gracias desde Perú, sabemos que usted cumple un papel muy importante también con el canal de la televisión en Rumbo Digital TV. Muchas gracias. Queremos ya prácticamente para finalizar, estamos ya con la hora, queremos agradecer a nuestros directivos de la UPF Internacional, al doctor reverendo Don Moshin, al doctor Simón Feraboli, a nuestros excelentes 6 panelistas de los diferentes países hermanos, al embajador Julio César Pineda, al cónsul doctora Carmen Lucía Portorruete, al doctor Aníbal Casal, a la doctora Priscila Menín, al doctor Óscar José Maurtua de Romaña, desde Perú, al licenciado Agustín Menéndez desde Argentina. Nuestro profundo agradecimiento también al doctor Trevor Edward Young, como responsable también director de la subregión 3 por estos eventos de la región de la UPF, a los embajadores para la paz, a todos los invitados que nos están viendo y escuchando a través del canal de YouTube y de las redes sociales en la América Latina y a nivel mundial e internacional. Queremos agradecer también al equipo, al staff, ¿no? Al staff, a Emanuel, quien está encargado de la transmisión, de las coordinaciones, a los hermanos que han participado también con la traducción, al doctor Ricardo de Sena, a Gabriela, a Kim Yang y todos que de alguna u otra manera han colaborado para que esta primera ILC Sudamérica regional organizado por la UPF Sudamérica sea todo un éxito. Muchas gracias a todos, pero antes de finalizar vamos a pedir fuertes aplausos por este primer evento y gracias por toda su participación de todos ustedes. Antes de finalizar, vamos a hacer una fotocaptura. Vamos a pedir al staff, por favor, para que nos tome una fotocaptura a todos los panelistas como recuerdo de esta primera reunión trascendental. Entonces, a la voz de 3, vamos a mirar de frente, prendemos nuestras cámaras, por favor, nos acomodamos y con la mejor sonrisa de esta noche vamos a expresar nuestro cariño. Muy bien, a la voz de 3, equipo staff, 1, 2 y 3. ¿Ok? Una más, por favor. Otra vuelta, a la 1, a las 2 y a las 3. Ok, muchas gracias. Dios le bendiga y hasta otro ILC regional de la UPF Sudamérica. Muchas gracias. Bye, bye.
Muchísimas gracias a todos. Dios bendiga a todos.
Gracias a Dios.
Buenas noches.
Muchas gracias. Muito
Gracias.
obrigado. Muito obrigado.